Hi everybody, welcome back to the She Shed. Today's tutorial is going to be on the polo neck or turtleneck jumper. It starts from the neck, works its way down in one piece, minimal sewing and super comfy. We will be using this yarn, which is called Reborn from Lemire. I got it from Hobbium. Many colours. It's beautiful. I love the earthy tones it has. It doesn't come with a colour though, so there's only a lot number, and this yellowy one is L124 and this greeny one is L173. These are polyester, acrylic and wool. They work up beautifully and so lovely and soft. I really love using this yarn. The hooks we will be using for all the trimmings, all the ribbing, we will be using our 4.5mm hook, and for the body of the jumper we will be using the 6mm hook. You'll also need a yarn needle, pair of scissors and some stitch markers. If you are interested in these stitch markers, we do make them ourselves and sell them in our website, so go check them out. Okay, let's get this project started. We will be starting with the lemon or yellow for all the trimmings. It is purely up to you what colours you will want to do. I'm choosing the yellow to do all the trimmings and the green as the body. I did debate about this. I was thinking of doing it the other way around. Don't know why I picked this, but I have. So do a slip knot, put it on your hook, and then you are chaining 25. Once you have your chain of 25, miss that first chain, go into the second chain, straight into that V, go straight in the middle, towards the back, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through the two on the hook. So you're doing single crochets throughout the whole of the ribbing. So every time we're doing yellow, it is a ribbing that we will be doing. And so for every ribbing, we go straight into the front, through that V, towards the back, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the two on the hook, and continue going all the way down to the end. Last stitch, and at the end, chain one, turn your work and repeat. So don't go into that chain one. What you're doing is going into that first stitch. Put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the two on the hook, and keep going. I recommend that you count your stitches all the time, because it is really easy to lose one somewhere or gain one somewhere. And you will need to do 70 rows of this ribbing. When you have finished your 70 rows, come back here and I'll show you how to join and what we need to do next. Now we have finished our 70 rows, we need to join our neck together. Just a little tip, try and make sure that your tail is at the opposite side to where you finish off. So lay it flat and bring your neck together, and then you are going to put your first stitch right at the tippy top there, put the hook straight through, grab your yarn and bring the yarn through the two loops on your hook. So that's a slip stitch. Next stitch, go to the next one down, go to the stitch up the top there, grab your yarn, pull it through all the loops on the hook. Go to the next stitch, go to the next stitch on the other side, grab your yarn and bring it through all the loops on the hook, and keep repeating this all the way down to the very end. Once that is joined together, turn your work inside out and as you can see, looks very neat. Now the next step we need to do is place our stitches around the top. So we're going to place 70 stitches because we have 70 rows, so therefore we're going to do 70 stitches. They are going to be half double crochet, and just may as well work over the tail while you're there. And where you place your stitches is purely up to you and what you find is neat, but what I generally do is put a stitch on top of every single one of these rows. So yarn over, go straight into the top of the row, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And then just keep working your way around until you have your 70 stitches evenly placed around the bottom of your neck. Now that you have created your 70 stitches, you'll come back to the beginning and we are going to be slip stitching the 2 rows together. So put your hook in, grab your yarn, pull it through and pull through the loops on your hook. Now we are finished with the yellow for now, so just snip that off, change your hook over to your 6mm, get your next yarn, pull that through, pull that tight, and then chain 1. Grab your stitch marker and just place it there for now, just so you know where your beginning is going to be. What we will be doing for this first row of the green is increasing every 7th stitch. So we want to do a half double crochet in each stitch for 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then on the 7th stitch we're doing 2 half double crochets in that 1 stitch. So it's 1, 2. So for the next 6 stitches we're doing 1 half double crochet in the stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7th stitch, my tail's gone funny, you'll notice that I'm working over my tail so that I don't have to sew it in later. 6, let me just double check, I've done 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now in this 7th stitch I'm doing 2 half double crochets in that stitch, and repeat this all the way around. So you remember you're doing for this row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then in the 7th stitch you're doing your 2 half double crochets. So continue going around, and this will have increased this row by 7 stitches, so making 77 stitches. This I'm working up as a size 14. I have not made a written pattern for this. I don't know how to write patterns. I just make it to fit me. What I believe probably would make it smaller is reduce this pattern by 7. So it is a pattern of 7 stitch pattern, which means you need to make sure that everything is a multiple of 7. So if you would like to make this smaller, I would suggest that you reduce this by 7 for each size smaller, and if you would like to make it bigger, then increase this by another 7 stitches. Okay, continue on working your way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning of this row. At the end of the row, your last stitch should be an increase, so 2 half double crochets in that one stitch. And then the next row, we're not going to just slip stitch together and work up, we are just going to continue in the round. But we are doing 5 rows of increase. So we've done the first row of increase, and the second row of increase will be increasing on the 8th stitch. But before you do that, get a stitch marker and put it in the last increase row. Now you don't have to do this, but I just find it easier to just not lose my starting point, because when you are going in the round and going around and around and around, you might get carried away and forget that you're going up to the next one. So we are now going to do 7 half double crochet stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then in the 8th stitch you'll be doing 2 half double crochets in that stitch, and it should always line up to be directly on top of the previous round 2 half double crochets in the one stitch. So you'll always be doing it on the same stitch, and therefore it should be really easy to know that you're in the right spot. So the next one, 7, so we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then your 2 half double crochets in the one stitch above the previous 2 half double crochets in the one stitch. Okay, so I will leave you to finish that row and meet you back at the end of this row. At the end of this second round of increase, I'm right at the stitch marker, and this is where I'm going to put my last increase in above the previous increase. So that's 1, 2 into that stitch, and then I'm back to the beginning. So here we are going to be now doing our third round of increase, which is putting a stitch into the next 8 stitches, and then we do our increase on the 9th stitch, which, as you remember, will be on top of the previous round's increase. So at this point I don't even need to count, so there's my increase there, 1, 2, and then continue on. So because it's been accurate before, theoretically it should be accurate continuously after this point, and you just got to remember to put your increase in the increase from the previous round. So there we go, I'm up to it again, there's my increase, 1, 2. So continue with that round. So end of the third increase round, I'm at the end, and there's my last stitch, which has to be an increase stitch, 1, 2, and I forgot to put my stitch marker up from the previous round, so let's do that. Bring that up, And then we're now on to our 4th round of increase, and this one will be doing 9 stitches, and then the 10th will be an increase stitch. So as I mentioned before, you don't even have to count, but I do recommend that you just double check that your work and that you've got them all in the right spot and the amount of stitches are correct. I'm at my increase, so let's do our 2 increase and then continue. Now after this row will be your last row of increase for this little section here, and that next row is going to be 10 stitches between and then your increase. So what I'll do is I'll leave you to finish this row, which is round number 4, and then do round number 5, which is your last row of increase, which, as I said, between the 2 stitches will be 10 on the 5th round, with the 11th stitch going into your increase round. When you have finished those 2 rounds, so therefore you've done a total of 5 increase rounds, I'll meet you back here and tell you what you need to do next. Now we have finished those 5 increase rounds, and I will put a table up in one of these corners as a refresher of what the increase is for those 5 rounds. The next 5 rounds are going to be just plain half double crochet in the round. So just do the next 5 rows plain half double crochet, no increase, just 5 rounds of half double crochet, and I will meet you back here when you have finished your 5 plain rounds of half double crochet. After you have finished your 5 rounds of plain half double crochet, if you haven't already done so, bring your stitch marker up. And now we're going to do another 5 rounds of increase. So for this first round, what we are doing are 11 half double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then in the next stitch we're doing 2 half double crochets for our increase. So on the 12th stitch we're doing our 2 half double crochets as our increase. So the next 11 single half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then your 2 half double crochets in the 1 stitch as your increase on your 12th stitch. So keep doing that all the way around. Double check that you've got the measurements right, and if you have got it right, what you should see is that there's your increase there, and when you follow it down it should line up above the previous increase rounds, and then you know you're in the right spot. But also count your stitches back and make sure that you've got it all correct. And when you finish that round, I'll meet you back here at the stitch marker. And when you are back at the stitch marker, you should be on your last increase stitch. So 1, 2, and then move your stitch marker up to that stitch, that increase stitch. There we go. And now we're on to the next increase round. So we've done the first increase round of this panel of increase. We've got 4 more increase rounds to do. So your next one will be between your 2 increase stitches, you are going to be doing 12 half double crochet stitches, and then on the 13th you're going to be doing your increase. So that's number 2 of this increase round. Number 3 row of this increase round, you are doing 13 stitches, and then the 14th will be in the increase round. And remember, you know you're on the right path when your increase from the next round goes above the increase of the previous round. So the 4th round of this increase round will be 14 stitches, and the 15th will be your increase, and then the 5th and the last round of this increase will be 15 stitches of half double crochet, and then your 16th will be your increase round. I will write it up in the corner somewhere so that you will have a guide to what you need to do there. So continue with your increases, and I will meet you back out here after your 5th increase round for this little section and tell you what to do next. Now we have finished those 5 rows of increase. That is all our increase done. Shift your stitch marker up if you haven't already done so. And now what we'll be doing is another 5 rows of plain half double crochet. So no increase, just continue doing another 5 rows. And when you have finished that, we'll go through how to do the armholes and then the body. Now that you have finished your 5 rows of half double crochet, we now need to place the armholes. So fold your work in half. So as best you can. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. It is a circle, but what I'm aiming for is where the back is. So the back is where we've been starting all our rows, and so where that back is, I'm trying to leave that at the back. So this will be the back of my work, and I want where I finished off right in the middle. And then I need to go to the side, and when I've folded it in half, I found my side, and I need to count 19 stitches on either side of this arm. So it will be 38 stitches altogether. So what I do is I fold in half and I count up 19 on one side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I grab my stitch marker and I place it in there, and I just place it on the other side, and then I count 19 on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now it looks like I've gone 1 up, so let's just double check by seeing if there's 38. So starting from where I put the stitch marker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 35, 36, 37, 38. So I have gone up 1 too many. So let me move my stitch marker out of the way, bring it down 1, so I have 38. Now we need to repeat that same process on the other side for the other arm. So there we go, we have our 2 armholes marked where they're going to go. Now we can go back to continuing working in the round. So continue your half double crochets until you get to that stitch marker. Oh, and before I forget, bring your stitch marker up. When you have got to your stitch marker, you want to stop at the stitch before you've marked that stitch with the stitch marker. So you can see there, I've got the stitch marker in there. I want to stop just before. And then I need to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do make the chains a little loose, because you'll find out later it's a lot easier to work with them when they're loose. It's a loose chain. Then going to the other side of the sleeve, there's my stitch marker on the other side, so I want to miss where the stitch marker's in and go the stitch neck just after it, and then you need to do a half double crochet into that stitch, and then continue all the way around to your stitch marker for your other armhole. So continue your half double crochets. Now we are at the other armhole. I have stopped at the stitch just before, just put a half double crochet in there and repeating exactly the same thing. We want to do 7 chain, and remember, do it loose. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Go over to the other side of that armhole and put, there's the stitch marker in that stitch there, so I want to go the stitch afterwards, and I'm doing a half double crochet into that stitch and then continuing around. Now continue around until you get to the chain that you made the armhole for. Now we are back at that armhole. You can remove the stitch marker. And do that last stitch there. Now, because you have 7 in your chain, you now need to do 7 stitches, so 1 in each chain. But turn your work over so you can see the bubble underneath. So there's the V on the top and there's the lump on the back. You are working your stitches into that lump. So yarn over and go straight into the lump of the first chain. And then keep going all the way across. Now if you're looking back at it and you go, oh hold on, there's a bit of a gap there, undo. And it doesn't matter if you have more stitches in the arm, just remember that it does make it a little bit bigger, the arm, but you want to keep it nice and neat. So I don't want gaps, so I'm going to start my stitches there, and I'm going to do 1 in there because I want to keep this nice and neat and no gaping holes. So there's 1. And so work your stitches across, and there are my 7 stitches in the chain. And then what we are going to do is keep half double crocheting all the way around the body until we get to the next arm, the other arm, and repeat the same process. We're at our other arm. Let's remove that stitch marker and repeat what we did earlier. So turning the chain inside and then put a half double crochet Now the reason why we do it this way and put the stitch at the base of the chain is because when you come to do your sleeves, it will leave a much neater, nicer look, and you will not notice a join at all, and it'll just look seamless and one panel, one body of the arm. And now that we have finished that, we just continue half double crocheting. Just continue half double crocheting until we get to the stitch marker. So back at the stitch marker, that is your first round of your body. Now before you go any further, I do suggest that you try this on or put it on the person that you're making it for and see how it fits, and make sure that this is a comfy fit for them. To change the arms, what you need to do, if you need it fatter arms, just do more chains here. If you need a thinner arm, do less chains. But do remember that will also not only change your armholes, your arm size, it'll also change your body size as well. So you will need to play around with the size if this is not correct for them. Remember, I said that this is a size 14 that I have made here. Okay, so for the body, you need to do 30 rows. So we've already done row number 1, so you need to do another 29 rows. Now I've made this a shorter jumper, as in it just goes at your bottom, and then there is an 8 stitch row of rib down the bottom that we're going to be doing when we finish this. So you need to allow for that as well. So try it on continuously, see how the length is going for you. I will be doing this for 30 rows, and then I will show you how to do the rib border down the bottom. If you want it longer, just keep going. If you want it shorter, so it's crop and it comes at the waist, just make it long enough so it will sit at the waist for you. I will leave you with that. If you are following along with me, you've got another 29 rows to do, and I will meet you at the end of those 29 rows. Now that we have finished doing our 30 rows, we are now moving on to the ribbing. So we have finished with the green for now, so just snip that off, put that aside, and you will now need to change your 6mm hook back to your 4.5. Start another half double crochet, so just bring it through like so. Grab your yellow or whatever color you're using, pull it through, tighten up all your, and then just do one round of half double crochet. The reason why we do this and not go straight into the rib is because this actually makes it look a lot neater. So just one round of half double crochet, and I will meet you back here when you get back to the beginning of this row. When I do this round, I not only go over all the green, but just do the first one of the different color row as well, and then that just makes it nice and neat. Now we are going to start on the ribbing, and what we need to do is loosely chain 13. 1, 2, 13. So the reason why we loosely chain is because when you join them together, it makes it a lot easier and a neater edge when this is loosely chained. Now we're going to skip the first chain and go into the second chain, and we are doing a single crochet. And now we are starting our ribbing. So it's just like the ribbing that you did for the neck, your turtleneck, or your polo neck. When you are down the bottom of that chain, just check you've still got your 12, and I suggest that you count every time you go backwards and forwards up your chain. It is so easy to gain one or lose one. Now when you come down to the bottom, this is where we join to our bottom of our jumper. So the next stitch, which you can see there's the stitch we're in, and the next stitch is here. You go straight in, grab the yarn, pull it through, and pull through the loop on the hook. So we're slip stitching. You've got to do that twice. So one, and there's the second one. Go straight in like that. Then we need to go back up our rib. So we go, miss that first chain there, miss that first stitch there, and go into the third stitch here, which is the first stitch of your rib. So go in, grab your yarn, pull it through, and continue with your single crochets. Back up to the top of the rib in the last stitch, double checking I've got my 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yep. Chain one, turn your work, go into the first stitch, not into that chain, into the first stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and continue with your ribbing back down. Now I'm back down to the bottom, and just wanted to point out my last stitch here, which is my 12th stitch, and it can be a little tricky to find it because it twists around, but there it is. Just go in there. Now obviously you're double counting, you're double checking yourself by counting your stitches. And then once again we need to do our slip stitch, so 1 stitch, 2 stitch, count back 3, 1, 2, 3, in that third one, go in and continue with your rib. Now I'll run through this with you one more time. So on my 12th stitch here, which is the last stitch, go straight in, chain 1, turn your work into that first stitch there, continue with your single crochets all the way down. Now I'm on my 12th stitch here, there's my stitch, it's turned in again, going straight. Remember, you are going into the middle of your V towards the back. Grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2, and that creates that lovely rib. And then once again for the last time to show you, and then I'll leave you on your own, going into that first stitch and doing a slip stitch, going to the second stitch and doing a slip stitch, count back 3, 1, 2, 3, going into that stitch, and then continue with your rib. So remembering that each stitch is going into the middle of the V, pointing your hook away from you, into that V, hook away, into that V. Alright, I'm going to leave you to finish your rib bottom, and then I'll meet you back here to show you how to join that, and then we'll start on the arms. When you have completed the bottom of your jumper with your rib, we now need to join it together. So go to the very tippy top and grab that top loop up there, and then grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Next, go to the stitch below, corresponding stitch on the other side, grab a yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook. So we're slip stitching all the way down. So putting your hook through that next stitch, grab the corresponding stitch on the other side, grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on the hook, and keep doing this all the way down to the bottom. The last stitch may be a bit tricky. Just get in there like so. There we go. Now finish with the yellow for the moment. Snip it off and pull that through. Grab your yarn needle and then pop that through to the back like so, and then just sew it in. Just one more time. And there we go. You have no idea where that seam was. Nicely done. Okay, that's your bottom finished. Now we're moving on to the arm. Okay, so for the arm, I've already done one, just to show you what it looks like. It's a bit hard to fit it into the camera because it's quite a long arm. There's one arm, and as you can see, the way it's done is it's seamless. You actually can't tell where it was joined. So we're going to repeat that over this side, and what you need to do is get your armhole, there's the shoulder, and we need to start in the armpit. And the reason why we start in the armpit is any joins and anything can actually be hidden in this armpit here. So we're going to go to that chain that we made. Remember, we made that chain and then worked down. So in the middle of that chain, go back to your 6mm hook and join your yarn however you like to do so. And chain 1. I put a stitch marker in at this point just so I know where I started, and you'll see why as we're working around. And what we're doing for the next 10 rows is half double crochet in the round for 10 rounds. So just keep going into each stitch, and you can see I'm working over my tail, and the stitches are really easy to see because you're just continuing on from previously. So just put a stitch above every previous stitch, do this for 10 rounds, and then meet me back here after you have finished your 10 rounds, because we'll start shaping the sleeve. Completed the 10 rows. Now before you go any further, take note of how many stitches were in that round. Me, it's 50 stitches. Now the reason why you need to note that is because you need to make sure you have exactly the same stitches in your other arm. You want to make sure that they're even. So I've done my 10 rows. Now move your stitch marker up, and this will be a decrease round. So we will be half double crocheting 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then we do a decrease, which is yarn over, go into the stitch, bring a yarn through, and then go into the next stitch, bring a yarn through, and then grab your yarn and pull through all the loops on your hook. Then we will do another 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then another decrease. So yarn over into that stitch, bring a yarn through, into the next stitch, bring a yarn through, and then yarn over through all the loops on the hook. Now we are going to be doing half double crochet all the way around until the last 5 stitches of this round. Now we're at the last 5 stitches of the round, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is now a decrease. So yarn over, go into the stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all loops on the hook. And then you should have your 3 more stitches to do. Move your stitch marker up, and now you are going to repeat that whole process again. So we're going to do 10 rows followed by a row of decrease, repeating exactly the same as what we did. So I will do the 10 rows and meet you back here to run through that decrease with you again. After finishing the next 10 rows, let's do that decrease round again. So shift your stitch marker up, and then we do our next 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we decrease, 1, whoop, start again, grab your yarn, pull it through, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all loops on the hook. And then the next 3 half double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then the next is the decrease, so go into yarn over, go into the stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, go into the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through all 3 on the hook. Then work around until you come to the last 5 stitches. At the last 5 stitches we're going to do another decrease, so there's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's do a decrease, and then 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so move your stitch marker up, and for this next 4 rounds we're doing half double crochet, and then we're doing a decrease. So what we are doing now is 4 rounds of half double crochet, just plain half double crochet, and then 1 round of decrease round, exactly the same as your last 2 decrease rounds, but this time instead of doing your 10 rows of half double crochet we're doing 4. So repeat that 4 times. So it should be 4 rounds of half double crochet, and your 5th round is decrease, and do that 4 times. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to leave you to do that, and when you finish at the end of that, come back here and I'll show you what we do on the very last round here before we then do our cuff. We have finished those rows. We've got 1 more row of green left, and what we need to do now is half double crochet on every 4th stitch. So do 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we decrease on this 4th stitch, and then 1, 2, 3, decrease on this 4th stitch. Oops, that's a decrease. And keep going around doing this until you get back to the beginning. I'll meet you back there. Once you have done that, that should leave you with about 28 stitches. It doesn't matter if it's 26 or, you know, a different count. Whatever you end up with this side, you need to repeat the same amount on the other side, so both of your sleeves are even. If you find that this is way too long, that's 43 rows there, and it is, let me find my tape measure. So the sleeve itself is 37. It's about 37 centimeters, which is about 14.5 inches. If you find that that's way too long for you or the person you're making for, do less rows in each of the panels. So instead of doing 10, 10, 4, 4, 4, do 9, 9, 3, 3, 3. Something along those lines to still have the shaping happen. So as you can see, it's shaped down, but be able to make your sleeve shorter. So keep trying it on and see how it fits. Now remember, you do need to leave enough room here for your cuff. So finish up your length of your sleeve just about where your watch would sit. You see where my watch would normally be. I haven't put it on today. About there, and then you've got enough room for your cuff. So let's start on the cuff now. So now we've finished our green, we can snip the green off. You can remove your stitch marker, don't need that anymore. And we need to change to our 4.5. Start off your stitch as normal. Have the 3 loops on your hook, change over to your other color, my yellow, bring the yellow through, and we're going to do one round. Put that tight, and we're going to do one round of half double crochet, and this helps to keep the cuff nice and neat. Where's my other one? There we go. And it cinches it in a little bit more, because what you want to do is bring your cuff in. There we are. So let's continue on. Do one row of half double crochet. Back at the beginning, so now we need to loosely chain 13. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. And we are going to be repeating exactly the same as what we did down at the bottom of our jumper. So our ribbing that we did down here, we are doing exactly the same on the cuff. So I'll run you through that very quickly just as a refresher. So miss your first chain, go into your second one and slip stitch all the way down. We are at the bottom. Remember to count all your stitches. Make sure you've got 12 stitches. Keep doing that, because on every row it's really easy to lose a stitch or gain a stitch somewhere along the way. Now remember, when we get down the bottom, we have to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So 1, 2, and then remember we count back 3. 1, 2, there's number 3. And we continue with our single crochets. We get to our last stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and going into that first stitch, not the chain, and continue. Oh, all tangled up. It's getting heavy now. And continue going down with your single crochets. So I'll run you through the joining again one more time. You're probably an expert at it by now, but let's go through it one more time. We're at the bottom. Let's join 1, slip stitch, 2, slip stitch, count back 3, 1, 2, 3, and start your ribbing again with your single crochets. Alright guys, I'm going to leave you to finish your cuff, and I'll meet you back here when you've finished, run through how we join it again, and then we are done. Finished making the cuff, so now we have to join it together, and if you remember, go into the very, very tippy top. Can be a bit tricky. There we go. Pull your yarn through the loops on the hook, then go to your first stitch on one side and your first stitch on the other side, grab a yarn and pull through all loops on the hook, and keep doing this all the way down. And you'll see this is why you need to start with a loose chain, so that it is easy to get your hook in, but also keeps it very even. At the last stitch, can be a little tricky. There we go, and now we're finished with the yellow, and pull it through, grab a yarn needle, stick it through, sew it off neatly, snip off the end, and there is your cuff finished. Now the reason why the cuff is long, so it matches the bottom of your jumper, you can turn the cuff over like so, so it matches the neck of your jumper. And all you need to do now is repeat that sleeve on the other side, make your 2 sleeves, and then you are finished. Finished product is a bit hard to fit in the camera there, but there are the sleeves, there's your head, and the bottom down here. I should call it my Australiana one because it's got your lovely Australian colours. I hope you have enjoyed that tutorial, everyone, and if you do make this jumper, I'd love to see some photos, so please share it with me on all my socials and even my website. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of this tutorial. Check out my other tutorials. I've got quite a few of them on my YouTube channel, and hopefully I will see you again very shortly in our next tutorial. Until then, bye everyone!